Welcome back to Homey Studio, your favorite destination for timeless and inspiring interior design journeys. Today, we step into the poetic charm of the French cottage, a style that whispers stories of sun-soaked afternoons, rustic textures, and the elegant ease of country living. It's a design rooted in comfort, history, and a natural romance. Join us as we walk through each room, from cozy living spaces to serene bedrooms, unraveling the textures, colors, and details that make French cottage interiors so uniquely captivating. Let's begin. The French cottage living room is where rustic comfort meets delicate charm. Natural light pours in through tall, paned windows dressed in sheer linen curtains, softly diffusing the daylight across the space. The walls, often painted in warm whites, creams, or soft taupe, form a neutral backdrop that enhances the vintage furniture and natural textures. You'll often find subtle touches of faded florals or toile wallpaper in accent areas, adding a whisper of classic French countryside elegance. At the heart of the room is a plush, well-worn slip-covered sofa, often in soft cotton or linen. Its cushions invite you to sink in and stay a while. Surrounding it, mismatched armchairs with carved wood arms and curved legs add that timeless, collected feel. A reclaimed wood coffee table rests atop a faded vintage rug, the kind that looks like it's been passed down for generations. Here, the accessories are minimal but intentional: a ceramic jug filled with lavender, vintage books, and a wrought iron candle holder. The fireplace, if present, is a showpiece, perhaps in limestone or white painted brick, framed with a classic mantel topped with a simple mirror and dried wildflowers. Wooden ceiling beams, left raw or painted in distressed white, add a structural texture that echoes the architecture of age-old cottages. Soft ambient lighting comes from vintage-inspired wall sconces or table lamps with pleated fabric shades, perfect for evenings filled with conversation or a quiet read. Everything here feels curated, not coordinated, layered, storied, and deeply personal. French cottage interiors are not about perfection, they're about comfort, warmth, and a connection to nature and history. They embrace the past through antiques and age-worn finishes, and they celebrate the present through cozy layouts and tactile materials. Each room tells a quiet story. A story of calm mornings, slow afternoons, and a life lived beautifully, not hastily. The mix of rustic and refined, of patina and polish, creates spaces that feel welcoming and effortlessly graceful. Every corner, every texture, every object carries a sense of time, of memory, of calm. The layout feels unforced and fluid. Rather than symmetry, the space favors balance through layering, an armchair angled beside a fireplace, a tufted ottoman replacing a traditional coffee table, a cozy reading nook bathed in light by the window. Walls are often imperfect, painted in limewash or finished with plaster for a softly worn look. They reflect light in the most organic way, adding character through subtle shadows and highlights. The furniture here tells a story. Imagine a slip-covered sofa with deep cushions and slightly rumpled linen, nothing too precious, everything inviting. It's paired with a faded Persian rug, maybe slightly frayed at the edges, adding visual history beneath your feet. You'll notice a mix of woods, not a matched set, but rather a curated blend. A pale oak side table, a dark walnut cabinet, a whitewashed bookcase filled with vintage novels, ceramic vases, and iron candlesticks. Decor is carefully minimal, dried lavender in a glass jug, woven baskets tucked under consoles, or a collection of framed pressed flowers along the wall. Step into the French cottage kitchen, and you'll feel as though you've entered the beating heart of a home where generations have gathered to cook and connect. The kitchen palette remains light and airy. Soft whites, buttery creams, pale sage, or faded blue cabinetry give the space a sun-washed, cheerful mood. Cabinetry often features shaker or beadboard details, distressed finishes, and open shelving, inviting everyday dishes to double as decor. Natural stone or butcher block countertops add warmth and functionality, while farmhouse sinks, often porcelain or apron front, ground the kitchen in rustic authenticity. Above the stove, a plaster or wooden range hood may be accented by weathered tiles or an arched alcove, paying homage to traditional European kitchens. Copper pots hang from a wrought iron rack, catching glints of sunlight. Ceramics, glass jars filled with herbs and spices, and woven baskets line the open shelves and countertops, adding layers of texture and function. The lighting is gentle and vintage in style. Glass pendants, iron chandeliers, or even wall-mounted sconces offer a blend of elegance and old-world utility. Patterned ceramic tiles are often underfoot, while wooden floors and wide planks offer a charming alternative, especially when they show signs of wear. The layout isn't overly structured. It flows, encouraging slow mornings over coffee and fresh bread. or warm dinners shared around a farmhouse table just steps away. In every corner, the kitchen feels like it lives and breathes, not just a place for cooking, but for living. An antique kitchen table, slightly worn and beautifully imperfect, often takes center stage instead of a modern island. Around it, bentwood chairs or upholstered benches provide casual, communal seating. The lighting is romantic, not harsh, glass pendant lamps over the prep area, a vintage iron chandelier above the table, and wall-mounted fixtures that cast a golden hue on worn wood and creamy paint. Flooring is either aged wood planks or encaustic patterned tiles, especially in classic French blue and white motifs. The floor adds rhythm and charm, making the room feel grounded and well-trodden. In this space, you might notice details like a hanging herb rack near the window, a chalkboard menu on the wall, or a vintage clock ticking gently above the stove. There's a sense of narrative, of a space that evolves, not staged, but real. This kitchen isn't just built to cook in. It's designed to gather in. To laugh in. To sip wine while chopping herbs. To bake for holidays and host breakfasts by In the bedroom, the French cottage style takes on a dreamlike, romantic quality, a gentle retreat from the noise of everyday life. The walls are painted in restful tones, chalky whites, soft sage, pale rose, or dusky lavender. These muted colors reflect natural light in a calming, understated way. Behind the bed, you might find a subtle wallpaper, perhaps a vintage floral or faded damask pattern, lending depth and intimacy without overwhelming the room. The bed itself is always the centerpiece. A wrought iron or carved wooden frame, often painted in a distressed ivory or dove gray, stands proudly with layered bedding. Textiles include washed linen sheets, embroidered pillowcases, a quilt or crocheted throw, and a collection of scatter cushions in neutral and floral fabrics. Vintage nightstands flank the bed, each with its own character: chipped paint, a tiny drawer, a delicate ceramic knob. On top, you'll often find soft lighting in the form of petite lamps with fabric shades or antique candelabras. Closets may be replaced or complemented by armoires, tall, freestanding wardrobes with ornate woodwork and antique brass hardware. Flooring is usually wooden, often softened by layered rugs or a sheepskin beside the bed. Decorative accents are sparse but meaningful: a stack of old books, a glass vase with dried hydrangeas, perhaps a laced curtain that dances in the breeze. The bathroom in a French cottage interior is more than just functional, it's a romantic, quiet escape filled with natural beauty and vintage charm. Soft, neutral color schemes dominate here too. Think soft ivory walls, pale blush, or gentle gray tones. White subway tiles or tonneau group paneling are commonly used on lower walls, adding a classic and clean look. A clawfoot tub, often in enamel white or painted in soft pastels, anchors the room in tradition. Over it hangs a sheer curtain or a beaded chandelier, casting warm, dappled light. If there's a shower, it may be framed in antique brass or brushed nickel, matching the vintage taps and fixtures. The sink is often set in a repurposed vanity, perhaps an old wooden table with a marble top, complete with a porcelain basin and cross-handle faucets. Above it hangs a distressed framed mirror, flanked by wall sconces or lantern-style lights. Wicker baskets hold fluffy cotton towels, while ceramic dishes and apothecary jars line the shelves. The scent of lavender or French soap drifts through the air. Floors are frequently stone or patterned tile. Every detail feels thoughtful, hand-picked, and timeless. Thank you for joining us on this charming journey through the heart of French cottage interior design. If you enjoyed this tour, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new inspiration from Homey Studio. Until next time, may your spaces be filled with peace, beauty, and timeless character. Au revoir.